had a tweet in the drafts that I never hit publish on.
Maybe that's a sign.
Yeah.
I noticed that the Tampa Bay totals come down a lot through the day. Almost a half goal. Even in Colorado, but that might be COVID problems. Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whenever or wherever you're watching or listening. This is the Awesemo NHL DFS Strategy Show, and I'm your host, Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy. Joining me today, hopefully with a peppermint mocha beside him, is our single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris. Josh, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing pretty good. Don't drink coffee, so maybe a little peppermint tea later if I have a sweat. But special start time. My computer's not going to shut off today because I got a new laptop, and I'll actually be here for the full show.
There you go. See, we're all about delivering a better customer experience here at Awesemo, and Josh is upgrading his laptop mid-season just to make sure that he can stay on the streams. It's been a few days since we've been around. Obviously, no shows on Sunday. Yesterday was just a one-game slate, so there wasn't going to be a show anyway, but then that game was canceled. So we're back here today. Monster 13-game slate. Was supposed to be a 14-game slate, but one game got postponed. We're going to talk about the COVID issues because there's going to be a lot of them. And trust me, there's nothing I want to talk about less right now than COVID problems in the NHL, but that's just a fact of life that we have to deal with. Before we get too much further, just want to thank Yahoo Fantasy. They are our sponsor for our show, have been this entire season. They've been very good to us, and we have a special giveaway through Yahoo that we'll talk about a little bit later. If you guys could throw us a like, really helps us look good for the bosses, and subscribe as well. I see we're only 500 or 600 subscriptions away from that vaunted 69,000 mark. Can't wait to get there, and click the little bell so you get notifications whenever we do go live on the air. Obviously, with so much time elapsed from the last slate, there's not really a slate review to do, but I did want to shout out Wolf Girl, one of our subs. She took down the dime time on Saturday night, and I think it was more than just taking it down. It was like a first, a third, and a sixth or something like that. She did I assume it's a she. She did very, very well on Saturday. And then Millhouse took down 20K on Saturday night as well. That's two 20K winners in a week for NHL, I believe, between him and Hofbrau. So congrats, Millhouse. You had a great night. Congrats, Wolf Girl. You had a great night as well. Love to see the winners here at Awesemo. Not going to talk too much further about prior slates because we do have a lot of games to get to today. I just want to get your thoughts on this slate in general. You know, it is a monster slate, 13 games. Obviously, there's that huge tournament on DK, $400 entry with $100,000 to first place. Sorry. So there's a lot of money at stake tonight, and it is a multi-entry contest, right? So you're probably going to only be playing one lineup tonight. What would you do in a one lineup where there's it is a top heavy prize pool, right? It's like 100 to first and 10K to third or something like that. So you really need to gun for first place. What's your approach when you're playing single entry in a multi-entry tournament like that is so top heavy?
Yeah, I don't want to say at risk of sounding like an idiot. Like, I don't build to try to win these 150 maxes, but when you get down into 25 max, obviously you're gunning for the top prize of 100K, but I can't concern myself with ownership and dupes. And so I think what I'm going to do is just play my plays. And if I happen to get duped and have a good finish, I'd rather be duped and have a good finish than, try to overthink it and, galaxy brain my way into a lineup where I'm going to be unique, but may not, have the ceiling. So I'm just going to play my guys. I'm going to play the lineup that I like. I may not build a 4-3-1. That might be the only way. I'm going to creatively get around ownership. I might have a different build. But if I'm duped, I'm duped. One lineup, what can you do? It's a 25 max. Like I said, I'd rather tie for first than galaxy brain my way to a min cash or even, not get there. So I'm going to play my guys. I'm not going to worry about ownership. I'll build a bit differently if I have to, but as simple as it sounds, like I'm going to play my guys.
Yeah, I think that may be the single best piece of advice on a slate this large, regardless of the contest, is just play the guys that you want to play. If you run Cruncher and it spits back 3 lineups with good projections and good correlation and all that, play them. If we're going to talk about ownership, and I think there are a couple spots where ownership is going to matter tonight, but by and large, you're right. Duplications and ownership, not a huge concern. If you think it's a good leverage spot, or you think there's a high upside, or you think people are just missing something, go with it. Just go with it. I don't like you said, I don't like people galaxy braining their plays on a slate this large. You got to realize you're probably not going to win anyway, because that's just the way DFS works. You just kind of have to go along with that on a slate this size. So yeah, I agree with that. But we do have some games to get to. Before we get to them, just want to remind everybody that we do have free premium tools and data up on the site, as we normally do every single day. Today being no exception. We have NBA ownership rankings up on the site. We also have our NHL top stacks. I think that'll be valuable for people today that aren't subscribers. If you want to check out our top stacks, it'll show you the leverage, some under-owned plays. And it's the under-owned plays, you don't want to focus on ownership, but I always look for under-owned plays regardless of the size of the slate, and Top Stacks is really good at highlighting those plays. So be sure to check it out at Awesemo. It's up on the site right now, along with our NBA ownership rankings. All right, let's get to these games. Our first game is Vegas with a 2.7 implied goal total. They're going into Boston. The Bruins have a 3.0 implied goal total. Now, there is some pretty significant news from this game. Craig Smith hit the COVID protocols for Boston, and Brad Marchand also hit the COVID protocols for Boston. So we're presuming right now that no other positive tests are going to pop up, but players are tested later in the day as well. So there could be more positive tests in 2 to 3 hours time across the board. So it applies for Boston, it applies for every team. We're assuming Taylor Hall jumps to the top line with Patrice Bergeron and David Pasternak. It doesn't leave a whole lot on the second line. Jacob DeBrusk, Charlie Coyle with Nick Foligno. Losing those 2 guys out of their top 6, Marchand and Craig Smith are 2 of their 4 best wingers. Now, that still leaves Boston with a very good top line, but it doesn't really leave them with a whole lot else. So what do you like here, Josh?
It's interesting because with Hall moving up, I would imagine I wanted to see our next ownership run, because with Hall moving up, making Boston one cheaper, I think their ownership might go up a little bit just because they're fully correlated. Yeah, they're going to get the Stevenson Stone Pacioretty matchup, but that, they're still not back to where they were at points last year. They're getting a little bit better now that everyone's a bit healthier, but they're still not the elite line they were last year. It was tough because when Marchand was there, it was just it was really tough to get there because of the price, and it's a huge slate. But this is a pretty good spot. But with Hall up there, him being $3,500 cheaper than Marchand, it definitely brings them into play more. Now they're under 20K to full stack. The numbers with Hall there were when Marchand came back, they improved to the point where they were like an elite line. Yeah, it was a small sample, but I think Boston one's in play tonight. It does worry me, that there's not much else there. But I guess on the flip side of that, they may see more minutes because of it, especially if they're down. They're probably going to see the ice a bunch. So, I worry that their ownership's going to get into the double digits. Not that ownership's a massive thing, but now under 20,000, the build becomes more popular. Before, when Boston was like 22.5 on DK, there was only so many avenues you could go with them. So in a nutshell, I like Boston one. I don't know if I'm going to get to them in my one lineup, but they're definitely going to be in consideration. Going down the lineup on the Boston side, there's not really much that second line doesn't interest me. Nick Foligno on the top power play, but it's Nick Foligno. Only the Leafs thought it was a good idea to give up multiple first-round picks for him. Everyone else is just no. But because of that second line without Craig Smith and without Taylor Hall, I'm definitely interested in the Vegas second line here. Carlson, Marchessault, and Smith. They're under-owned right now, which is a nice surprise. I hate playing them because they're always over-owned, over-leveraged. They're coming in under 1% right now, and they're going to get that Coyle-Foligno DeBrusk matchup, and I can't imagine that line is going to be good defensively. So I do like that second line. Coming into this slate, I was thinking, man, if I was an MME player, I would probably want some Vegas 1. I know it's a terrible matchup, but they have been looking really good lately. So like if you're playing 20 max, 150 max, having some, 1% Vegas 1. But now that, that second line's in a really good matchup at similar ownership, I think I'm going to concentrate on the second line of Vegas here. So in this game, I like Boston 1 and Vegas 2.
Yeah, I won't dig a whole lot further. I'm not as excited on Vegas 1. I see what you're saying in 20 max and 150 max. Like I can definitely see some Vegas 1 there, but I think in my 20 max tonight, I'll go to Vegas 2 just because of the matchup that you mentioned with Coyle and DeBrusk and Foligno. I mean, we have a Coyle and DeBrusk sample going back a couple of years, and it's not good. Like 45, 46, 47% shot share, scoring chance share, expected goal share, and all that. So they're probably going to be below water. And the Vegas 2 has been a 56% shot share line so far this year. So we're actually getting leverage on them, like you said, which never happens with Vegas 2. That's what I like the most out of this game is Marchessault, Smith, Carlson. They are absolutely going to be one of my filler lines here tonight. Like I'm not going to be playing 20% Vegas 2. I think that's a little bit overboard, but I definitely will be probably have them in 2 or 3 out of 20 of my lineups. So Vegas 2 for me. On the blue line, I noticed Alex Pietrangelo is really eating all the minutes for Vegas here lately. Like he's playing 25 plus, and then the Theodore Haig White Cloud group is all like 19 to 21. So I don't know. It seems like if I'm taking a single defenseman out of this game, like for a one-off, Petro would be the guy. But there's really not a whole lot I like for defensemen in this game, really. What do you think?
Yeah, and Theodore, I believe, is a game time decision if you're thinking about playing him. So Pietrangelo is probably the guy. Nick Hague, if you think, he's going to revert back to his prime Brett Burns self that he was last week. On the Boston side, nothing really interests me. Maybe Mike Riley at 2,800, but I'm not going to go out of my way to get a Boston defender in.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either. I should mention Robin Lehner, 7,400. Like, I know it's on the road in Boston, but now they have no Marchand, no Smith. Probably not a bad GPP goalie here tonight, I think.
Yeah, there's a couple that I like if you're spending down. And he's one of them. Shot volume may be a bit of concern, but I think this is a winnable game for Vegas. So
yeah, and I think there's shutout upside here too. Yeah. Like Boston hasn't been able to finish all year. They're generating some shots, but they're not finishing. So.
And just real quickly, we just got a new ownership run on Boston 1, and it's coming in, about 12%. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, I do like Vegas 2 there. All right. Yeah. Anything else from this game? Okay, let's get to the next one. Los Angeles Kings, 2.3 implied goal total. They're going into Tampa Bay. The Bolts have a 3.2 implied goal total. You and I were talking through the day about this game in particular with Jake and some other subscribers and things like that. And that this might be a good power play spot for Tampa Bay. So why don't you take us through this game, Josh?
Yeah, we were looking up the numbers on the LA penalty kill recently, and they're way worse than I thought. They're down there with like the Blackhawks penalty kill. They're giving up 114 chances like Corsi against per 60. That's just insane shot volume, and I hate playing Tampa Bay with all these injuries, but I think there is, upside here with their power play. I don't know if you want a full stack. I don't even know if Taylor Radish is going to stay on power play 1 with Cirelli back. So I don't even know if you need to full stack that top line. I personally, if Cirelli is on power play 1, I like the Cirelli Killorn 2-man, just because like they're way cheaper than Palat, Stamkos. Cirelli honestly is probably their best center at this point. Killorn's usually involved on the power play. So I think from this game, on the Tampa side, I don't know if you need a full power play stack. That seems a bit wild on this slate. So I'll probably, do like if Cirelli's there, I would imagine he is. I probably do like a Cirelli Killorn Palat or like a Stamkos Cirelli Killorn, or even just keep it to the 2 of them. Even though this is a great power play spot, like I just don't want to go overboard on Tampa here. They're pretty banged up, even though they're getting these big totals still and scoring. It still worries me, but their ownership's in check. On the Kings side, Cirelli line's going to get the Kopitar matchup. Cirelli's a very good defensive player. That line is pretty good defensively. I'm not super interested in the Kings top line. You want to have some Kings 2 and MME, 20 max 150. I think that is a decent play. They're coming in 1.5%, 2%. Anywhere Victor Arvidsson is, it does pique my interest. Deneau just has greatness following him wherever he goes. Getting a little egregious there. That was a little shot at the Habs, but
I do that with Buchnevich too, so it's fair game.
Yeah. I'll get it back, in like 20 minutes when we get the Blues. But I don't mind Iafallo, Deneau, Arvidsson in MME. 1 to 3, don't know if I'm going to get there, but Tampa power play, a little bit of Kings 2 from this game, 5.5 total. So it's kind of
that's one thing. It's not a big total. Like I really do like Kings 2 as a line, right? Over the last month, 89 shot attempts per 60 minutes and 46 scoring chances per 60 minutes. That's a low-grade power play. They are excellent. It's just 2.3 total on the road. Tampa's not really an easy matchup, like at even strength or the penalty kill. So, I don't know if I'm going to get there in my 20 max. I would rather play Vegas 2 than Los Angeles 2 tonight. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at is I like the line. There are just other lines that I like in that range a little bit better. So I'm out on Los Angeles here tonight. Even in 20 max, I don't think I'll get to Kings 2. 150, I think they're in play, but definitely not 20 max. On the Tampa side, I think it's about the power play. And I agree with you going down to that Cirelli-Killorn duo because they're going to be going up against the Kopitar line. And their defensive numbers have been improving, but they're still giving up good quality chances, like scoring chances, expected goals against, those types of things. So Cirelli and Killorn, presuming that Cirelli plays, I like that 2-man here tonight as well. So I think it would be both second lines out of this game for me. But again, somebody wants to play Stamkos and Palat and Hedman in a 3-man power play stack. I can't sit here and say, play the power play stack, but don't play Stamkos. You know what I mean? That feels,
it just feels bad. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So anything you want to do with the Tampa power play is fine. I'll just say specifically, I think Cirelli and Killorn for me will be in play just because of the price. On the blue line, we usually talk about Mikhail Sergachev and, Victor Hedman and all those guys, but Ryan McDonough's price keeps coming down. I think 3,500 at home is pretty reasonable, especially with Eric Chernak out. Anybody else stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, as long as Chernak's out, McDonough's that price, I have no problem playing him. Victor Hedman, obviously, if you're working in power play stacks. On the Kings side, not too much there that I really like. There probably isn't anyone, maybe even Matt Roy, but
I'll say Doughty at 5,600. It feels like it's a spot that can get there, right? Quick has a good game. They win 2-1. Doughty has block shot and a goal or something like that. Block shot bonus and a goal. So yeah. I think Doughty's going to be in my mix for one-offs here tonight, I think. And it's just because he's down at 5,600 where he has been at 6,300, 6,400 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to this next game. This one is a spicy meatball. Ottawa, 2.5 implied goal total. They're going into Florida. The Panthers have a 4.0 implied goal total. Now, Alexander Barkov is still not back, but it doesn't really seem to matter for the Florida Panthers. Anthony Duclair will be back. Looks like he's going to be lining up on the second line, I believe, with Carter Verhaeghe and Anton Lundell. So that looks like a pretty good line to me. There might be a line on the Ottawa side that you have interest in here, Josh. So I'm just going to let you take this game away.
First and foremost, I am an Alex Formenton stan, and he's in the top 6 at min price. I've been fighting the lock button all day. No, but listen, the Panthers have a 4 total, and there's not a lot of ownership here, and it's a bit confusing. Panthers won, coming in around 7%, fully correlated. They are expensive, so maybe that's what it is. They're 20,500. But this is a great matchup. Since Senators came back from their COVID break, they've just been getting scored on. And another thing you notice is they messed up the goalie prices. I think Forsberg was supposed to be 7,200 and Knight was supposed to be 8,200. They got that reversed, but we'll talk about that later. I really do like Florida 1 here. especially at that ownership. Yeah, it's like 7% on a 13-game slate. Ownership doesn't bother me. They're not coming in 20-21%, something like that. So I really like Florida 1 here. And you go down the lineup, like the second line's getting almost no ownership, and I really like them tonight. In a 4 totals, there's going to be, they're expecting other lines besides the top line to score. Like, you don't see a 4 total unless you think there's going to be scoring all over the lineup. Carter Verhaeghe, Anthony Duclair have a very good numbers together. Duclair is overpriced, so that's going to keep his ownership way down. Anton Lundell is a very good player. The power play correlation doesn't make sense, but or is non-existent. Excuse me. Verhaeghe's on the second unit. I would imagine Duclair might see a little bit of time on that second unit as well. But Florida 2, getting no ownership, I really like. If you want to just like leave Duclair off because he's expensive, you can do like Lundell, Verhaeghe for 8,100 with under 1% in the 4 total. Like, sign me up. On the Senators side, I think you can get to the top line, maybe not in 1 to 3, but definitely in 20 max, because, as good as Bennett, Reinhart, Huberdeau have been, offensively, they're pretty high event both ways. So it's pretty high event hockey. So I think you can get to the Ottawa Senators top line here. And, you want to do some Stützle Fermenton 2-mans, go for it. I don't know if I'm going to get there on this slate, 2.5 total on the road. I hope Fermenton sticks up there because I do want to play him, but just not in this matchup.
Yeah. Not really great. Even if it was like an 8-game slate, I might consider him here too, right? It's such a big slate. With you on Florida 1, just to kind of highlight how bad Ottawa's been since returning from their COVID pause. On November 22nd, they are in the bottom 7 of the league across every single 5-on-5 defense metric that we have, and the penalty kill is not that much better. So I think there's very good reason why Florida's top line should be owned here tonight. I mean, 66% shot share, 71% of the scoring chances. It is a small sample, but it's starting to get up there. You know what I mean? Like 40, 50 minutes. They are just absolutely cruising. So, yeah, I do like Florida 1. They are in the PP article that I wrote today. I agree with you on the Ottawa side of things as well. I kind of like that Ottawa top line here tonight, perfectly correlated on the power play. Barkov is one of their penalty killers, so that's one of the penalty killers, big penalty killers out of the lineup. Florida is one of the 10 most penalized teams in hockey, so I'm not saying I'm playing Ottawa for sure tonight, but they're definitely one of the lines I'm leaving in. I'm not Xing them out, and if they end up in my lineup, I'm good with it. Florida 1 as well, but I agree with you on Lundell Verhaeghe. They are one of my favorite fillers here tonight. I posted some stats in our Discord earlier about Carter Verhaeghe's season. He's legitimately been one of the best zone entry monsters in the entire league. Like, we're putting, he's not McDavid because nobody's McDavid, but he's literally in that tier right underneath. And that doesn't surprise us. Verhaeghe's been good for a few years now, and Lundell has looked good in his sample as well. So I like Florida 1. I like Florida 2. I don't mind Ottawa 1. I'm going to leave them in my mix. If they get in, they get in. If they don't, they don't. The thing with Florida 2 I want to mention is that they haven't been great together, Verhaeghe and Lundell, about break even by possession, but super high pace. Like a lot of shots back and forth. So maybe that lends a little bit more credit to, Fermenton and Stützle on the second line, but I'm not playing Ottawa 2 on the road in a 2.5 total on a 13-game slate. I feel like that's just a bridge too far. On the blue line here, Aaron Ekblad is one of our top projected defensemen by raw projections here tonight. I noticed Mackenzie Weegar up to 6,200 on DK. I feel like that's a little bit too high. What sticks out to you on the blue line here?
Yeah, I mean, Forsling's a game time decision. I kind of had interest in him, but if he's questionable, that's another on top of news. That's some more news you have to pay attention to. So I think it's Ekblad or bust for me on the Florida side. On the Ottawa side, Nikita Zaitsev is up to 3K, but he's still blocking some shots. My son, Artem Zub, 3K as well, but I think I'm going to stick to whoever's playing with Chabot, and that is Zaitsev.
Yeah, I agree with that. Zaitsev at 3K, he's very much in line for the shot block bonus here tonight. Get access to all the great Awesemo Plus tools and content for nearly every DFS sport out there with an Awesemo Plus weekly pass for $29.95. This includes full access to all the premium content and tools on Awesemo.com, including player projections, ownership projections, our premium Discord, our lineup builder, and a whole lot more. If you're a new user of Awesemo Plus Platinum, then you can take advantage of the promo code we have for this show, which is NHL Strategy Show, all caps, all one word, NHL Strategy Show, for 25% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. You can find the link to activate this coupon in the description of the video below. Of course, if you're only looking to play NHL DFS, you can do so by signing up for one of our NHL Awesemo Plus weekly packages for as low as $3.95 a week. Stop guessing, start winning, join Awesemo Plus today. That's NHL Strategy Show, all caps, all one word, 25% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum for new users. All right. Just looking in chat here, Jake mentioned Minnesota game might be in jeopardy. We'll talk about that game a little bit later, but again, it just speaks to there are a lot of COVID issues across the entire slate here tonight. If you're playing, it is vitally important to be around 6:30 Eastern, 7 Eastern, 7:30 Eastern, 8 Eastern, for all that COVID news to come out, because there's going to be a lot of it. It's just the fact of life for this slate here tonight. Let's get to the next game. New Jersey, 2.9 implied goal total. They're going into Philadelphia. The Flyers have a 3.1 implied goal total. The Devils changed their lines around. I think it was through the last game, definitely in their last practice. Zaka on the top line with Jack Hughes and Yegor Sharangovich. Normal New Jersey 2 back together, Janssen, Mercer, and Bratt. And then Tatar and Kuokkanen down on the third line. I'm not seeing any significant Flyers changes either. I don't know, man. Like, New Jersey seemed to be really rolling over the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, and all of a sudden they're underdogs going into Philadelphia. Like, they haven't looked right since Jack Hughes came back, and I think being underdogs might actually be correct here. So I don't know. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, I don't know. This game, like, this is not my favorite game. I'll be completely honest. Like, it's hard to, like, for DFS anyway, it's kind of hard to rely on the Flyers here. Couturier and Giroux are broken up. Giroux's a center now. He's playing with Morgan Frost and Atkinson. Like, on paper, you want to have interest in the Devils based off that, but like, I just have a hard time getting there. I think if I was going to go to a Devils line, it'd be Janssen, Mercer, Bratt. They're not going to get the Couturier. Like, I would imagine Couturier goes out against Hughes. But again, like, Couturier without Giroux has been not great. Lawton up there has like stabilized it a little bit, I guess, but like,
yeah, I just want to mention that he has helped them in a small sample be better defensively, but it's also, we're talking like 20 to 30 minutes, right? Yeah. And it's Scott Lawton, so let's whoa,
yeah, let's pump the brakes. Let's turn the main down a tad here, Skid Row. So like, yeah, I mean, Giroux on the wing is better than Scott Lawton on the wing with Couturier. We'll just put it out there. Hughes hasn't looked right since he came back. I don't know if he's fully healthy. I don't know if he does, his like cardio is an issue. I don't like to conjecture. It's just bad news. So like for me, second line, Janssen, Mercer, Bratt going up against Giroux, Atkinson, Frost. Like, Giroux and Atkinson have a decent sample together. You know, their defensive numbers are okay, but they only have like, they're under 50% of the shot share. Morgan Frost being there, like, can't help defensively. He's still a young kid. So like, I don't mind going to Devils 2 here. But on the flip side, like, I think if I was going to go to the Flyers, it would be Couturier, Konechny 2-man or a Giroux, Atkinson 2-man. Just like, I don't know if I can make them a priority on this slate. In MME, if you get to him, you get to him. You know what I mean? It's like that. You know, like I say it every time, like, these Devils lines are like all the same with their shots against, their expected numbers against. So all things being equal, I think I'd go to Couturier, Konechny, because the Devils take a lot of penalties. They have a good penalty kill, but like, if the Flyers see a bunch of power plays, like, I want to get some power play time here. So like 9,500 for the two of them at 7%, like, that's fine. Like, Konechny being under 4K seems like a mispricing. So for me, Devils 2, a little bit of Flyers 1, but this is an MME game. I don't know if I'm getting anything out of this game 1 to 3.
Yeah, it's Devils 2 that stuck out to me immediately. And I'm saying that because I want to raise Jake. I hope you're watching this. But the Devils' second line has just been absolutely great this year. 75 shot attempts per 60 minutes, 57% of the shot share, 4 expected goals per 60 minutes against just 2.4 against. So that second line going up against a Philly 2 line that's been average at best in their sample together, like that Atkinson Giroux line has been average by almost every metric. So, 2.9 total on the road for New Jersey, and 2 of those 3 players, Dawson Mercer, and Jesper Bratt, are on the top power play unit. And like you mentioned, Philly's one of the most penalized teams in the league. So, that New Jersey second line is really what I'm focusing on most in this game. On the Flyers side, there just really isn't a lot that excites me. Like Couturier, Konechny, I think is a fine 2-man, specifically because Konechny is far too cheap at $3,800. I know he's not having a great season, but he's a $5,500 player, maybe like 53. So I think Konechny, Couturier is fine as a 2-man, but that's a price play. It's not necessarily that I really like them or want to play them. So take that how you will. For me, this game is about New Jersey 2 getting the soft matchups down the lineup. They have, like I mentioned, the numbers, great numbers in their sample together this year. And they're cheap enough where you can 2-man them and put them with Dougie Hamilton, and it's a reasonably priced stack. Normally if you put Dougie Hamilton with just about any stack, you're looking at a penance, but not so bad with that 2-man. On the blue line, not really anybody that's sticking out to me in this game. Ryan Graves being on the IR for New Jersey probably means more minutes for somebody like Damon Severson or PK Subban, but I don't think I'm doing anything but correlating in this game.
Yeah, Severson, Hamilton correlating makes sense. If you want to one-off Travis Sanheim or Rasmus Westerlein or Justin Braun, they're cheap enough where they're fine for one-offs, but like if you're going Couturier, Konechny, and want to put in Keith Yandel, I guess you can. Like I'm just not interested in Keith Yandel. If he burns me, he burns me.
Yeah, if we get burned by Keith Yandel, that's one of those. Okay, I'll just put on a movie at 11 o'clock Eastern and call it a night. Yeah, I agree with that. I do like Carter Hart though. Carter Hart, I think makes sense at his price.
Yeah, I like both goalies in this game actually. So
okay.
Good correlation plays, good one-offs. So,
all right, let's get to the next game. Probably won't be much on both sides here. Montreal 2.1 implied goal total. They're going into Pittsburgh. The Penguins have a 3.4 implied goal total. Now, remember, Jake Gensel and Brian Rust still out for the Penguins, so it looks like Evan Rodriguez and Kasperi Kapanen skating with Crosby. And then down on the second line, you have Jeff Carter, Danton Heinen, and Jason Zucker. Montreal did change their lines around a bit. Matthew Perreault jumped up to with Nick Suzuki and Mike Hoffman, but let's face it, they're shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic at this point. I don't think there's much to talk about on the Montreal side. What do you think?
Yeah, there just isn't anything that I really want to play on Montreal. They're at 2.1 total on the road, and Hoffman over 4. Oh, if like Hoffman was like 3,300, I could say, yeah, maybe you can one off Mike Hoffman, but like that's even just getting a little bit desperate. I'm probably just going to be completely out on the Canadians. If they, somehow put up 7 goals, then so be it. Like there's things on the slate where if it happens, it happens. That's the nature of the beast. I'm not going to be jamming in Montreal because I need to get everyone in. It's just not going to happen. So I'm out on Montreal. On the Pittsburgh side, I want to get behind Pittsburgh one here. I don't know. Kasperi Kapanen is a pretty good player. He's not a Gensel. He's not a Rust, you know what I mean? And he's not on the top power play, which is the biggest defactor for full stacking there. I don't mind like a Crosby, Rodriguez, Letang 3-man if you want to leave Kapanen off, or like a Zucker, Carter, Letang, something like that. But it feels bad leaving Crosby off a power play stack. And Crosby has looked a bit better of late. So if you want a full stack pit one, it is a 3.1 or 3.4 total, excuse me. The Montreal Canadiens take a lot of penalties. They have a poor penalty kill. So I think power play stacking is a decent way to attack this game. If you don't like full stacking a line here, you can, leave off Kapanen and put in Zucker. They're the same price. They're full power play correlation there. But I don't think I'm going to full stack anything on either side. I'll just take bits and pieces of the Pittsburgh power play.
Yeah, I really like the Pittsburgh top six. I like both top lines here. I think personally I might get more to more of Carter and Zucker because it's a pricing play. And also, Pittsburgh has been sending out their first and second lines against the third lines and fourth lines quite a bit of late. And the third line from Montreal looks to be Lehkonen, who's a good two-way winger, but then Ryan Poehling, who's only there because of injuries and because they got rid of two centers in the offseason, and Cole Caulfield, who's already been sent to the AHL this year for underperformance. So if you're telling me Zucker, Carter, and Heinen align with 60% or better shot share, expected goal, and scoring chance numbers, with 2 out of 3 of the guys on the top power play unit are going to get Ryan Poehling and Cole Caulfield tonight, I'm going to play them. So Carter, Zucker, and Heinen, I like that 3-man. I think you can play all 3 here just because Heinen's a good player on his own, 2,700. I think it just makes a real, like, it makes a nice secondary stack because they're not expensive, right? Like, you're looking at 11,700, I think, for the entire second line.
Yeah,
so
it's ridiculously cheap.
Yeah, so I will absolutely take them. And as I look through ownership, we have them, over leveraged, but still only coming in at 5%. And I really want to get that line in. So Zucker and Heinen and Carter, the second line, I'm focusing on more. But either of the top 6 Pittsburgh lines, I think, are fine. On the blue line, I noticed Jeff Petrie back from Montreal. That doesn't mean anything like whatsoever. He might be back. I see that he's still listed on the IR, but he's a game time decision. If he plays, I'm still not playing him. I noticed there's no Montreal defenseman taking 11 shot attempts per 60 minutes over the last month. None of them are shooting. So no interest in the Montreal defenseman. Maybe John Marino on the Pittsburgh side, other than Letang correlating. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe Marino. He'd be the guy. I like Mike Matheson, but his minutes just aren't there. So it's Letang and power play stacks or Marino one-off if you get there.
All right. I like that as well. Let's move it along. New York Islanders, 2.8 implied goal total. They're going into Detroit. The Red Wings have a 2.6 implied goal total. This is one of the spots where COVID is going to be playing a factor, unfortunately. Matthew Barzal already on the COVID list, so he's not going to be playing tonight for the Islanders. Now, I will mention the Islanders just had a COVID outbreak a month ago, and we do know that, we don't know, I don't want to get into the science here, but we know that it takes longer than 6 months for that immunity to go away. So if the Islanders players that had COVID a month ago should be good to go here tonight, presuming they still have that immunity, it's just a matter of, is anybody else going to be thrown on the COVID list between now and 5 hours from now? That Barzal being out really changed things for me in this game, because now the Islanders are down Barzal and Brock Nelson, which means they have JG Pajot on the top line and then Casey Zizekas, second line center. I don't know. I don't even know who the second line center might be. So, and Detroit, the way they run their lines, that Rasmussen Ernie line is going to get the top line from the Islanders. And then Detroit's top line gets what from the Islanders in their bottom 6? They're in the middle 6. I have no idea. So
maybe Parisi.
I think I'm kind of giving the game away here. What do you like, Josh?
Yeah, normally 2.6 total at home. Tyler Bertuzzi just coming back from getting COVID. He was unvaccinated. I think he was symptomatic.
Well, we assume he's symptomatic. They didn't say. If you're asymptomatic and test negative after 10 days, even if you're unvaccinated, you can come back. It took him 14 days. So,
yeah.
Draw your own conclusions.
So, we've seen we've seen players come back from COVID and struggle mightily. Like Crosby didn't look right. There was other examples. We don't have to get into it, but it takes people a while to get their lungs back under them. And I wanted to fade Detroit, but his top line is going to get absolutely nobody matchup. And they're coming in at 1.5%. So I think you can load in load in. You don't have to go crazy, but you can get over the field pretty easily on Detroit 1 tonight. And, this is just like a matchup based thing. If this was, if they had a tougher matchup, I'd be off them. But I needed Bertuzzi to get some time to, get his legs under him. He's the most expensive player in that line, but this matchup is just too good. The total seems a little bit off. Detroit 1 for me. You want to go to that second line, Pia Suter, Robbie Fabry. I think that's okay as well. I just, at the same ownership, I'd rather go to that top line. So Detroit 1 for me. Probably out on the Islanders, maybe. Like, there's just, the lines are an issue. We don't even know who's playing with who. If there's a line that comes together that I like Lee, JG Pajot, Wallstrom, or something like that, I don't know. Maybe I have some interest, but 5.5 total, COVID issues on the road. Like, I'm probably just going to take a pass on the Islanders.
Yeah. Should mention Brock Nelson was back. He came back for the last game, so he's going to be in the lineup tonight. Misspoke there. That's my bad. But that really doesn't change anything for me from this game, because the way that the Detroit runs their lines, Detroit 1 is going to see that Parise Bellows line, and the fourth line. It just really doesn't change much for me here. And it's not as if Jean-Gabriel Pajot has even been good this year. The Islanders, pretty much to a man, have not been very good. And like you said, with Detroit 1's ownership, 1 to 2%, in my 20 max, I imagine I'm probably going to get 3 or 4 of them. I'll probably be 15 or 20% on Detroit 1 here tonight. I get it's a 2.6 total at home, but the Islanders have their own COVID issues they're going through right now. And they have a bottom 3 penalty kill since returning from their COVID break. It's just they're getting over 930 save percentage on the penalty kill. That's not going to sustain itself. And Detroit 1 perfectly correlated. So I do agree with Detroit 1 here. They're my favorite line out of this game. Detroit 2, I would want to play them, but Vladislav Nemesnikov over Filip Zadina on that line, I think, is a pretty big downgrade. I like Nemesnikov as a checking defensive center. He doesn't have the offensive ability that Zadina does, and I think that's a hit to that lineup. So I'll just take the perfectly correlated top line. I talked about it in the Power Plays article. A lot of it is Lucas Raymond's price. It's all the way down to 4,600. This is a guy that was a 6K player not that long ago. And because of his price drop, that line is $16,400 on DraftKings. They're coming in, cheaper than Winnipeg 1. They're coming in same price, virtually the same price as Ottawa 1, and they're at home in a higher totals and all those things. So yeah, Detroit 1 for me. On the blue line, I noticed Noah Dobson's price came down for the Islanders a little bit. It feels like if they're going to generate anything tonight, it's probably going to have to come from him, whether it's 2 goals or assists. So I don't mind Dobson as a one-off, really. Anybody else? And I actually don't mind Sorokin in net for 7,700. Anybody else stick out to you?
Yeah, Moritz Cedar's price has come down to 4,600. He was flirting with 6K not too long ago. Philip Hronek's been 3,400 all season, it feels like. I think he's a fine one-off as well.
Yeah. All right. Let's move this along. We have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NHL season to bring you some great offers. Check out our exclusive limited time offer, which gets you 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo, sign up for an account via the link below, deposit and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your name after you've played in your first paid contest, and we will reach out via email with your coupon. If you need immediate access, email support@awesemo.com, and we'll get you set up right away. You can also claim a free $10 of site credit by clicking the link in the video description below, and that can be used to enter any Yahoo contest as well. Make sure to use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give yourself the best shot at winning big. So Yahoo Fantasy, great spot to play if you really want to get acclimated to MMEing, if you want to get acclimated to, shooting for top prizes and things like that. Because a lot of the sharks that you'll see on DraftKings or FanDuel, you won't see over there. So if you want to get a head start on NHL DFS, this is a pretty good way to go about it. You'll get our premium data and projections to use as well. Just really a really good head start for anybody that wants to get their feet wet in the DFS pool. All right, let's get to this next game. Carolina 2.5 implied goal total going into Minnesota. The Wild have a 3.1 implied goal total. There is a lot to note here. At a minimum, Sebastian Aho and Seth Jarvis are going to be out tonight. They're on the COVID list, and I was reading, I don't mean to laugh, but with Canadian foreign national COVID protocols, they might be stuck in Canada past Christmas. This is just an absolute nightmare for this Carolina team. They're expecting Brett Pesce and Tony DeAngelo back from the COVID list. They've been out for a couple weeks now. But there are more players that could absolutely pop up. And there's even been talk about this game being outright canceled here. Well, not canceled, obviously be postponed to a later date, but this game not being played tonight. So we have to talk about it because it may end up on the slate anyway, but everybody should be well aware that this Carolina-Minnesota game could very well be wiped off completely. Knowing that, what do you like in this game?
Honestly, because with Aho out, I would imagine the checking line of Greenway, Eriksson, Foligno is going to get Trocheck, Netchus, and Svechnikov, which, that line hasn't been like completely elite like they were last year, but there's still a good line. And this is a 2.5 total on the road. So at 5%, like I don't want to go into that line. They moved Jesper Fast up to the line with Stahl and Niederreiter. And what concerns me is that Minnesota 1's going to get that. And that's a tough matchup. Yeah, their ownership's only 2%. So in 1 to 3, like initially I was very interested in Minnesota 1 tonight, but that matchup, assuming that they play, does concern me a little bit. So I might not get there in 1 to 3, but MME at that ownership, I think you can get over the field here. Also, listen, the Minnesota power play isn't great, but they're fully correlated and Carolina takes a bunch of penalties. So I think in MME, Minnesota 1 makes more sense than 1 to 3. And then that leaves, like Teravainen with Jesper Kotkaniemi and Steve Lorentz, which, pouring out for Tavo. But actually, that brings the Fiala, Rask, Gaudreau line into play for me. There's almost no ownership there. Fiala's down to 4,200 because he's been playing with nobodies his whole career. So, like, his prices come down. I don't mind if Fiala, Gaudreau, two-man, like, they have good numbers together. Gaudreau is min-priced. That two-man is not going to, if you're trying to get in a power play stack, I think I can go there as well. Just keep an eye on news in this game. It's not a 7 p.m. Eastern start, so hopefully we'll get some clarity before the slate starts.
Yeah, hopefully we do. Want to mention Carolina changed up their lines last game. So Stahl with Niederreiter and Fast is probably going to be their second line here with Trocheck, Svechnikov, and Teravainen were on a line together as well. So looking at the line matching, I think Ryan Hartman and Kaprizov might end up against that Kotkaniemi-Lorentz line. I really do. And that would really bring Minnesota 1.
That would change things for me.
Yeah, that would bring Minnesota 1 into play for me. It's just, I don't want to get caught, sorry to be a little bit vulgar, but I don't want to get caught with my pants down on this game. 45 minutes before the game's supposed to start, the slate's already locked, 5 games have already passed, and Minnesota 1 is all of a sudden out. So I think what you have to do is that if you want to play Minnesota 1 here tonight, you obviously have to look for a direct replacement, and it has to be in a later game. And I think the replacement would be Toronto 2 in that Edmonton matchup. They're the exact same price. And we'll talk about that Toronto 2 lineup. So I think I might play Edmonton 1 here tonight for the sole reason that there's another line on this slate that I like as much as them, and it's that Toronto 2 line, and they're the exact same price. So you can just, and they play later, so you can just direct swap. So I think that's kind of where I'm going to go here is I'm going to get my 20% Minnesota 1, and I might only throw in like 10% Toronto 2. And then if I have to switch over my Minnesota 1, then I'll switch it all over to Toronto 2. So that's how I'm treating this game. I think Minnesota, that top line, getting good leverage, 57% of the scoring chance is going to get the depth matchups from Carolina. So Minnesota 1 is where I'm focusing on in this game. On the blue line, I mentioned Jared Spurgeon in the Power Plays article because he's a goal-scoring defenseman. He shot 9.2% over the last 3 seasons. Like forwards, there are a lot of forwards that can't get there. So at 40, I think it's 4,100. I like Jared Spurgeon as a one-off here tonight. But with Jonas Brodin back, that might cut into his ice time. So what do you think here, Josh?
Producer Mike stole my mojo. I said, you can't get caught with your pants down if you never wear pants. But the Awesemo tools are behind us. So Jared Spurgeon definitely makes a lot of sense here. Matt Dumba's price has come down to $5K. That's one-offable. Is that even a word? Alex Goligoski. Sure. Alex Goligoski, I don't mind as well. On the Carolina side, Tony DeAngelo, 6,100 is overpriced. This isn't the best spot, although, Minnesota's PK, not great. So he could be a pretty spicy.
Well, game's postponed, so you don't have to talk about it anymore. Yep. So everything we just said it has been stricken from the record. Minnesota, Carolina. It's not officially official. We're just seeing it right now from beat writers. Beat writers are saying Minnesota and Canes have been postponed, as Carolina has posted 4 more positive tests. So, all right. I guess we don't have to worry about that late swap. Let's just
12-game slate.
12-game slate. Hey, by 3:00 Eastern, it's going to be like a 10-game slate. At least we can laugh about it. Buffalo, 2.2 implied goal total going into Winnipeg. The Jets have a 3.4 implied goal total. With games being whittled out pretty much every 10 minutes here, it presumably that only means more ownership going to the more popular spots here tonight. And that Winnipeg top line, I know we say ownership doesn't mean a lot, and we're down to a 12-game slate now, but 22% might go up to like 25%, 24% now that we're missing another game. That seems far too high for me. But again, it's a pretty good matchup against the Buffalo Sabres with no Blake Wheeler on the top line. Andrew Kopp's there instead. So what do you like here, Josh?
Yeah, if Wheeler was there, it's an easy fade, and then I'll just cry myself to sleep when Wheeler hits the empty net goal. But like Andrew Kopp being there is a massive upgrade. Like I can't understate that. Like Kopp to Wheeler is just, or Wheeler to Kopp, big upgrade there.
Wheeler to Kopp sounds like a 80s buddy television cop show.
Yeah, with macramated jorts. But anyway, I like in a vacuum, I really, really like this Winnipeg top line. If they start pushing 30%, like that's when ownership, I'll start like thinking about it in my one lineup. Just because like on a 12-game slate, 30%, you know what I mean? Like it honestly almost makes more sense to fade and pray, but like I'm never going to talk you off this line in this matchup with this total. But if you move down the lineup, you're going to get Winnipeg 2 here at about a third of the ownership. Paul Stastny is what he is at this point in his career, but he's only 2,600. Like that line is super cheap because that Nikolai Ehlers under 6K. Pierre-Luc Dubois has been shooting the puck a lot. Like Dubois, Ehlers have great numbers together. Stastny ain't going to kill you. He might, but like 2,600, I'd take that chance, at the third of the ownership and a big total here. I don't mind going to that second line here. Especially Dubois, Ehlers. I like that too, man. They may get the Cousins, Okposo, Brett Murray matchup, but like that's their quote unquote best defensive line, but matchups don't really concern me here. So Winnipeg 1, if you're into ownership, I think Winnipeg 2 is a little sneaky here. On the Buffalo Sabres side, I don't mind getting a little bit of Buffalo 1 in MME. I would imagine that top line defensive numbers get a little bit better with Kopp being out. Or now I have like Blake Wheeler on the mind. With Kopp being there instead of Wheeler. Wheeler Scheifele 5-on-5, which is pretty dusty. But like Buffalo fully correlated under 13.5, an MME to get above the field here. You need like 1 of 20 or whatever in 150. So I don't mind that. It is a 2.2 total on the road. So like, don't go crazy, but they're the only offense on Buffalo that I'm interested in tonight.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that Buffalo top line because, they are going to get that top line matchup from Winnipeg. Even with Kopp there, they're still not an elite line. So that's where some damage can come from. Even in 20 max, I don't think I'm going to be getting to Winnipeg here tonight. So I will say I'm probably going to be out on the Sabres. On the Winnipeg side, I did write up Nikolai Ehlers in my Power Plays article today. I don't know why he's priced where he is. He's like 5,900 on DraftKings, and he's been averaging 4 shots per game recently. Like, it's just absolutely absurd where his price is. And they're going to be getting the second and third lines. They're going to be getting the second and third lines. Like you said, that Cousins matchup might be a little bit tough, but they're still giving up 2.6 expected goals against per 60 minutes. Like, even if they are better offensively, they're still giving it up in their own end. So no problem with Winnipeg too here tonight. That's where I'm focusing. Paul Stastny, I'm glad you mentioned him. I think he helps that line to some degree. He's a good playmaker, good defensive winger. 2,600. I think you're fine to just 3-man stack. Winnipeg won. If you want to play them, I'm not going to say no, reasonably priced. It's just I don't play 20% lines that aren't, McDavid or Matthews on a slate this big. That's just something I don't do. So Stastny, Dubois, Ehlers for me. On the blue line, I don't think there's anybody. I mean, Will Butcher typically projects well for us. So min price 2,500, I don't mind. Brendan Dillon, 2,500. He's a guy I don't mind on the Winnipeg side. I don't know if this is a game where I'm paying up for a defenseman. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And I'm already starting to prepare at 2:26 p.m. Eastern to get burned by that Scheifele empty net goal. Winnipeg one is the most pure running team on the empty net. There's no stats behind it, but it happens every time, unless you play him, and then it's Jansen Harkins. But I'm gonna get burned by the Scheifele empty net goal tonight. I'm just excited.
I mean, there is some stats behind it. I remember seeing that Scheifele, Wheeler, Connors score more points with the empty net than any other line in hockey. So there is something to it. All right, that's about it for that game. Just checking chat. I see 60 says getting here late, but took second over the weekend in the 3K enforcer with Carolina 1 and Toronto 2. Yeah, I remember that Toronto game, and that night I think Aho was still playing and doing well. So congrats to you, 60, on that finish. Love hearing about winners. Even if you are late to the show, you got here eventually. So thank you for joining. Let's get to this next game. St. Louis 2.5 implied goal total. They're going into Dallas. The Dallas Stars have a 3.0 implied goal total. Lots of guys missing I shouldn't say lots of guys, a few guys missing for Dallas here tonight. Rope Hintz is out. Joel Kivaranta is out. Alex Radulov also out. Looks like Denis Gurianov is going to be lining up with Tyler Seguin. And Denis Gurianov and Tyler Seguin is a $6,000 two-man on DraftKings. Like, I get it's only 3 total. Seguin hasn't been very good this year. Maybe the Blues can be good defensively, but they're with Jamie Benn all the way down to 3,600. This Stars team is really cheap here tonight.
Yeah, maybe the Dennis the Menace Gurianov is the Dennis the Menace, thing that Jake will understand, because he missed the Dennis the Menace one yesterday, and my mind is still blown. He said he was trolling, but he Googled it. There was like a 5-minute post. Anyway. Is Logan Brown really on? Is he a placeholder for Prawn? Do you think?
No, Prawn's still on the IR. So Logan Brown genuinely on the top line for St. Louis.
Yeah. Crazy. That Stars top line is not too bad. I know we've been ragging on Jamie Benn this season, but he's actually been pretty decent at center. Robertson, he doesn't get publicity like a lot of other young studs, but like this guy is borderline elite. Grandpa Joe is what he is at this point, but like this is a pretty good team, or a pretty good line. They're going to be facing probably Charlie Lindgren, who's actually been decent, but he's not a full-time starting goaltender in this league.
I thought you were going to say he's not Jordan Binnington, and I was going to be like, yeah,
let's we're not going to be nice to Binnington here. He's going to come, swing at Ottinger, who I'm interested in playing, but O'Reilly without Perron is not, Couturier without Giroux, but it's still a knock with Logan Brown being there. Brandon Saad, decent, but I don't mind getting to some Dallas one here. The ownership is a bit high for a 3 total, but in MME, I don't mind getting some Dallas one. Dallas 2 is interesting if they are together, if it's Tanner Kiro, Tyler Seguin, Denis Gurianov. Seguin, Gurianov, 2 men at that price, 6K, does interest me, especially Gurianov. If he's going to see top 6 minutes, like that definitely interests me. His minutes are always a concern, but if you can tell me min price, getting some power play time and getting 14 minutes, like I have interest in him.
Yeah,
with that. So Seguin, Gurianov together interests me. You want to play some Buchnevich, Tarasenko, I think that's fine. You want to put in Barbashev, like the center there, you could put like I think I would play them with Yuri Laterra there. It's the same player. I think Buchnevich, Tarasenko, Barbashev is fine. Like outside of Gurionov, maybe as a one-off and 1-3, I think this is an MME game as well.
Yeah, I will just mention I'm not super high on the St. Louis side. I mean, I don't think I'm breaking new ground there. It's a 2.5 total on the road, but Barbashev, he seems to be dragging down that Buchnevich and Tarasenko line. I was looking at some of their stats, and they're like 46, 47% shot share with Barbashev there, and it makes sense to me. I don't get what the St. Louis coaching staff sees in him. It's been years now that they use him mixing and matching in the top six, and at no point has he ever made any of their lines better. I just don't get what they see in him. But as long as he's there, we have to consider him. It's just, Logan Brown on the top line, like you said, that could be a decent shutdown line, but, they're probably going to see a lot of Raffle and Fox or even some of that Ben Robertson. So you're going to get Seguin and Gurianov going against a weakened St. Louis 2, or even just a flat out bad St. Louis 3, like Nathan Walker and Tyler Bozak down on that third line. Seguin and Gurianov, like, they're not great players. They can take advantage of that matchup. So Seguin and Gurianov, and I think even throw in Klingberg for some secondary power play, Suter for primary power play exposure. And you're looking at it, what, $8,800 three-man? That's absolutely one of the filler stacks that I'm going to be targeting here tonight. So I do like Dallas too. Dallas one, I agree with you with Ben. In fact, I wrote them up in the Power Plays article. He's been good at center. I don't think it's a bad matchup against Ryan O'Reilly. Ryan O'Reilly has not looked like the Ryan O'Reilly of the last 3 years, at least offensively. Still fine defensively, but if he can't get anything going offensively, he's just going to be pinned in his own end the entire game. So don't mind that Ben line. Seguin Gurianov, fine for a little two-man. St. Louis, if you want to play that Buchnevich, Tarasenko, Barbashev line, I think it's fine because Dallas does take their fair share of penalties, right? Like top 10 by times shorthanded this year, and they are perfectly correlated. It's just they're not that cheap, right? Like it's like $15K for the three-man. Like I'd rather just play Dallas one, you know what I mean? Or so like I think out on St. Louis, Dallas one is fine, but mostly Gurianov, Seguin, little two-man for me there. Should mention also no Braden Shen. Obviously, that's why Tyler Bozak is the 3C here tonight. On the blue line, I mentioned Ryan Suter as part of that secondary power play stack. I think Colton Parayko is generally in play almost every time he's on the ice, so long as Justin Falk's not in the lineup. So I don't mind Colton Parayko here either. What do you like?
Yeah, that's really about it on the blue side. On the Dallas side, like if you're using that top line, I don't really like using him, but Klingberg's prices come way down to 3,700. I think he's an interesting play. Miro, 5,500. His prices come down too. Like these guys are in play. Like it's a pick your guy. Suter, if you want really cheap with Sig and Gurionov, you want expensive, put in Miro. Klingberg with the top line makes some sense, but it's more of correlation on the Dallas side.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, let's move this along. We do like to celebrate our winners here at Awesemo. We talked about our winners so far here this show. We talked about Wolf Girl taking down the dime time. We talked about Millhouse taking down that 20K. And we just talked about in chat earlier about a second place finish in that 3K as well. So we do like to celebrate winners, and we do so through the Awesemo Hall of Fame. If you want to get in, this is how you do it. You download the Awesemo.com. You download the Awesemo avatar from Awesemo.com/avatar. You place in the top 3 of a contest with at least 5,000 contestants, and then you send those screenshots in to the Awesemo Hoff account on Twitter. That's Awesemo HOF on Twitter, and you can get in the Awesemo Hall of Fame. It gets you a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. You can only win one free month per year, but it's not a bad little deal. Just send in those screenshots, and you see Alex Brown taking down 4 figures in NBA, it looks like Jordan Lockhart secured his fantasy football world championship ticket. It seems like he's up on these almost every week. This time is for an FFWC ticket. Congrats to Jordan on that. You see Jason Stone took down over 6K from DraftKings playing NFL. So NFL, NBA, NHL, we have winners all over the place here. If you want to get into the Awesemo Hall of Fame, just tweet your wins to the Awesemo Hoff account. All right. Let's get to this next game. New York Rangers, 2.6 implied goal total. They're going into Colorado. The Avs have a 3.6 implied goal total. Looks like Nazem Kadri back for Colorado here tonight, but we don't have even strength line combinations for them. My guess is that they move Logan O'Connor back to the top line with McKinnon and Rantanen. It seems like they've wanted to put Logan O'Connor there when they can through the season. And then a second line of Burakovsky, Nichushkin, and Kadri, because that has been the three men that they've ran a lot this year. So that's what I'm assuming for the top six. I saw Igor Shesterkin was skating for the Rangers at morning skate today, but they're saying he's not coming off the IR yet. And it's a back-to-back. They're in Arizona tomorrow. So it makes sense. Give Georgiev, the brutal Colorado game tonight. Give Shesterkin coming off injury the easy Arizona game tomorrow. So looks like Georgiev in for the Rangers. What do you like here, Josh?
Georgiev has looked better that he's gotten consistent playing time now, but I still like Colorado in this game. The one thing I will say about moving Locke up to the top line is Burakovsky just had a hat trick with McKinnon and Rantanen, so there could be a chance that, it's Nichushkin, Kadri, O'Connor. Jared Bednar's not giving out his lines because whatever, he's like playing it by the vest. Not that it matters. Like the Rangers don't have a great defensive line. That top line's okay, but we'll have to see. McKinnon, Rantanen, obviously going into the Zibanejad Kreider matchup is fine. Like Rangers, that line has been better, but McKinnon's matchup proof. This is interesting for me because it really depends who's on the top line. If it's Burakovsky up there, actually, it doesn't really matter because Kadri is going to come back and be on the top power play. So, Logan O'Connor up there is cheaper than Burakovsky. It makes them a bit cheaper to get in. So he's been good up there. You can full stack here. Their ownership's fairly in check, which worries me because initially I was considering not playing Colorado one, but like 7% McKinnon and not having him in the lineup is scary because he can do a McKinnon things. I think he's going to be lower owned because, McDavid's under 9K, Draisaitl under 9K, Matthews is cheaper. But, once you get up into these like elite players, 8,900, 9,500, if you want to play them, you're going to find a way to get them in. You know what I mean? So Colorado one makes some sense here. Some Colorado power play makes some sense. On the Rangers side, I'm out on the Zibanejad line going into the McKinnon matchup. You want to play a little bit of Strome Panarin in MME, fine, but like 7,100 on the road for Panarin, a little too much for me. You want to do a two-man Heat a lot from the air. I don't know how many times I can go to that well and get paid off, but they are going to get, Confer, Newhook, Abe Kubel, which hasn't been great. So, 5,700 for the two of them. I'd rather play Sagan, Gurionov than Heat a lot from the air, but in MME, if you're mixing in some, two-mans for expensive power plays, I think they can be in your mix.
Yeah, I was like you. I wasn't really going to be playing Colorado here today because I think the Rangers have been a little bit better defensively. But if you're going to give me, like you said, 6, 7, 8, even 10% Nathan McKinnon in a 3.6 total, I don't know how I get away from it. It's just, how do you build, not specifically knowing lineups? Because, I guess technically Rantanen could go down on the second line with Nazem Kadri, but I just don't see that happening. They just don't play that much together. It's typically Gabriel Landeskog that gets moved down to play with Kadri when he's in the lineup. So I think McKinnon and Rantanen are going to stay together, and that's a two-man that I absolutely like here tonight. Should mention with Devin Taves in the COVID protocols. I mean, that's the other thing to mention with Colorado too, right? Devin Taves hit the COVID protocols, so they may have more guys hit the COVID protocols later this day, sorry. But with Taves in COVID protocols, that means Cale Makar probably plays 25, 26, 27 minutes here tonight. So I like Cale Makar a lot here tonight. I don't think I'm playing anything from the Rangers side. I think I agree with you that the third line is fine as a filler, but the only thing I'd really want to attack is maybe the Colorado penalty kill, and stacking a line just to attack like an average penalty kill in a 2.6 total on the road on a 12-game slate. Like eventually you just get to the point where it's absurd. So I don't think I'm going to be getting to the Rangers here tonight. So Colorado won for me, specifically McKinnon, Rantanen, and Makar. On the blue line, I absolutely love Makar here tonight. I suppose Gerard would definitely be fine as well with no Taves in the lineup. What do you think of defenseman here?
Yeah, I agree with Gerard, Makar. And it sucks that the Rangers absolutely suck 5-on-5 because these Colorado depth pairs are just miserable. But the Rangers are horrific 5-on-5 and they're on the road. So Cale Makar, Gerard. On the Rangers side, if you have 5,200 for Trouba, I don't mind him, but really nothing on the Rangers side.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Let's move it along. Toronto, 3.4 implied goal total. They're going into Edmonton. The Oilers have a 3.1 implied goal total. I mean, I spent a lot of time in that Minnesota game talking about Toronto too here tonight. McDavid and Draisaitl on the top line with Zach Kassian for Edmonton. That doesn't really leave them a lot to play with down the lineup. Toronto too, really tickling my fancy here. What do you think about this game, Josh?
Yeah, that was one of the first lines that I circled tonight, especially when Edmonton loads up their top line. I mean, how much, they really loaded it up putting Zach Kassian up there. But when they put, Draisaitl, McDavid together, that leaves, Nugent Hopkins with Puljujarvi. And either, I don't know if Warren Fogle is going to be a Hyman. He's just sitting in for Hyman, or he's actually going to play there if Hyman's out. So that line's not very good defensively.
It looks like Hyman's out tonight.
Yeah, so
Fogle, Pulju on the second line, and I think that might be top power play minutes for Puljujarvi here tonight.
Yeah, but defensively, it leaves them very vulnerable. Even with Nurse back, like the Nurse pairing is going to see the Matthews line a fair bit, so that leaves Duncan Keith, Cody Ceci to get Toronto too, and that honestly might be the worst pairing in the NHL. Toronto 2, expensive. Like both Tavares and Nylander is 7,700 on DK, but like in this matchup at 4%, I really like them. You want to put in Kerfoot, you can. I think something I might do is add in, Andre Kasha, 4,500 to make them, fully correlated. Kasha at that price won't, break the bank. Edmonton's PK, not great. They're not great 5-on-5, not very good defensively. So honestly, like even with McDavid and Matthews on the slate, my favorite line is Toronto 2. You want to play some McDavid, Draisaitl, I think that's fine. The Matthews line without Nylander or Marner, the defensive numbers aren't, the numbers aren't great. It's still Matthews, and I wouldn't, stack them against each other, but I think I'd rather play McDavid, Draisaitl instead of, Matthews, Kasha tonight, especially because McDavid, Draisaitl coming in a little bit lower owned. They're at home. They dictate the matchups. So for me, Toronto 2, Edmonton 1, or, Edmonton power play as usual. But, because Puljujarvi is 3,700, I think you can add him in.
Yeah. I'll talk about Connor McDavid first, because he was a guy, Power Plays article that should be up on the site in not too long. He's a guy I wrote about. And the reason is like, they're going to be going into that Matthews matchup. And we talked about it, I think, last week. But when Matthews is skating without Mitch Marner or William Nylander, the team is literally 50% scoring chance share. It's break even 50%. And that goes back years. Like Matthews, and he just needs one of Marner Nylander on the top line. And if you look at the numbers, even with Andre Kasha there, 44% of the shot attempts and 50% of the scoring chances. That top line has not been good. I think, McDavid and Draisaitl are definitely in play here tonight against what is a bad Toronto top line. Like, I'll just say it. There's nothing to worry about there. It's the Toronto second line that you have to worry about the most. And they're not going to see that. I mean, they'll see some of them just because they play so many minutes, but that's basically the only matchup to worry about. So I do like the Edmonton top line here tonight, but it's Toronto too that I like the most out of this game. And the reason why, when Edmonton has McDavid and Draisaitl off the ice, they're scoring 21% of the goals. 21%. That means 4 out of 5 goals scored with McDavid and Draisaitl off the ice belong to the opponent and not the Oilers. Their depth sucks. I really, really like Nylander and Tavares here in this matchup. I'm not going to say I'm playing 30% of them or whatever, but they're going to be in my mix for my 20 max. Down on the blue line, you mentioned Darnell Nurse. I think he's just fine. I think he's near the top of our projections, like definitely top 5 for defensemen. Anybody else stick out to you?
Not really. If you want to correlate Riley with the power play, you can. I don't know if I want to pay $6,700 for him, but that's really about it. Nurse, maybe Bouchard or Riley.
Yeah. What do you think about Mikko Koskinen in net? Price down, some shot volume. It is the Leafs.
Yeah, 7,500 at home. These home goalies. It is a 6.5 total. So if you put them in your lineup, fasten your seatbelt for an hour and a half, 2 hours. But he's going to see some volume tonight.
Oh, you never watch your goalies. It's like MLB DFS. You never watch your pitcher. You never watch, and it's like season-long fantasy baseball. You never watch your closer. Never watch your starting pitcher. You never watch your closer. You never watch your goalie. That's just the way it works in DFS. All right, let's get to this next game. Columbus 2.6 implied goal total going into Vancouver. The Canucks have a 3.0 implied goal total. This is another game where COVID is a concern. 2 players for the Canucks, nobody noteworthy, but 2 players for the Canucks on the COVID list. So there could be more to come there. I think there might be some stuff to play on both sides here. So why don't you just take it away, Josh?
Yeah, I see people saying for the Oilers, Ryan McLeod just went into COVID protocol. So another game we got to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I should. I mean, it goes without saying, but Mark Spector, one of the Oilers beat writers, saying a lot of the Oilers team is very nervous for these COVID tests because they played teams like Boston and Carolina in very recent, like within the last week, and those teams are all having breakouts right now. So Edmonton could see one of their own tonight.
Yeah. So,
but anyways, Columbus, Vancouver.
Here we are in a 5.5 total, and I like both sides of this game. Like it never fails that there's a 5.5.
Just a staple of the Awesemo.com strategy show. Every 5.5 total, boy, we love it.
Yeah. Man, that Columbus top line, right? People have been writing off Gregory Hoffman because he's, Gregory Hoffman, and he sounds like my accountant, not an NHL player. But he's min priced. He's on the top power play. He's been shooting the puck, and that's like Jenner Bjorkstrand's prices have come way down. This line's about 12K to full stack on DK. They are going to get the Horvat Hoglander matchup, which is the best matchup, the Canucks have. Like Horvat Hoglander have been a very good defensive line for Canucks standards. But, fully correlated on the power play, that cheap. Their ownership's, 3-4%. I like them tonight. You want to get a little bit better matchups, you can go to Domi, Rosovic, Voracek. Like they're almost free tonight, and they're coming in under 1%. They're going to get the depth matchups of the Canucks. I think they're a decent filler as well. When you go to Canucks side, you look at the most obvious spot with the ownership is Pearson Miller Besser at 13%. I think I'm going to fade them. I'd rather, for 9K Miller Besser, I'd rather play Jenner Bjorkstrand for 9,400 at a quarter of the ownership. Yeah. So if you want to go to like Pettersson Garland, like they're 8K as well for the two of them at 5%, I think that's fine. Or if you even want to go to Horvat Hoglander, I think that's fine as well. If I'm going to play chalk, I think I'd rather play expensive chalk than cheap chalk.
I agree with that.
So I'm probably going to be off Miller Besser. if I'm going to go to the Canucks here, it's going to be Horvat, Hoglander, or Pettersson, Garland. But really, I prefer Columbus one, and I even like Elvis Merzlikins in this game as well.
Yeah, I just want to mention that leverage. Miller, Besser, Pettersson, by far our most over-owned line by our top stacks tool, which is free up on the site for today. So you can check it out for yourself. But we have them as a 4% top stack and 14% ownership. That's just not palatable to me. I don't think Vancouver is that good, even with Bruce Boudreau there. Like, I understand the pricing play, and I even wrote up Brock Besser in the Power Plays article. So, yeah, if you want to play him, go ahead. But they're just not a focus for me in this game. For me, it's about Columbus one. You mentioned people don't necessarily want to play Greg Hoffman. I don't think he's a great player, but Bjorkstrand and Jenner are good enough to carry him. And the Vancouver, like, the Hoglander Horvat line has been pretty bad since Bruce Boudreau got there. I was just looking up their numbers. I mean, it's only been 4 games, but 36% shot share and 33% of the scoring chances. And I think they've been at home for every single game.
Yeah, and they had a great game against Boston too. So those numbers are even skewed better because they played really well there.
Yeah. So and that Columbus top line, not elite, but 48% of the score of the shot attempts, high event as well. The Columbus top line, I think, is a better filler. I shouldn't say better filler. It's one of my favorite fillers on the slate here. So they will definitely be in my mix as well. On the blue line, I don't know what to do here because there could be more positive COVID cases, coming. So I don't know, maybe Jake Bean or Gavrikov or something like that with Bachfest out. What do you think?
Yeah, what is it? Vancouver canceled morning skate. So there could be positive.
2 guys are already positive. So this is a snowball rolling down the hill. It's just whether it hits us or not.
Yeah, I love Jake Bean. I've played him both times. He scored over 25 DK points. He's still 3,200. He's on the top pair with Werenski. He's going to see 22, 23 minutes. Jake Bean makes some sense if you can't get Werenski, and Gavrikov is fine as well. On the Vancouver side, I don't know. Myers, Pullman, assuming they're in the lineup, is fine.
Yeah, I think Hughes is fine for 4,800. Honestly, he might play 25 to 30 minutes, but that's just assuming he plays. And it's the second to last game of the slate. You might be kind of screwed if he's a late scratch or something. So just be aware of that. We have a few minutes left, but we have a bunch more shows coming up after us. We are sponsored by Yahoo Fantasy, but the NBA show coming up is sponsored by No House Advantage. The hosts are Eitan and Terry coming up right after us. College football pick'em at 4 Eastern with Ben and Gashevsky, and then your NBA double dose starts at 5:30 Eastern with Laffy and Adam. Ship my money. I'm sure I didn't even check. I'm sure he's playing the Peppermint tonight. He usually likes to go after those big NHL prizes. Good luck to you tonight. Ship my money. Let's get to this last game. Seattle 2.7 implied goal total going into San Jose. The Sharks have a 2.9 implied goal total. I'll just say flat out, there's nothing from the Seattle side that really interests me here. All their line combinations haven't been very good together. Schwartz, Eberle, and McCann could be fine, but I think that's about it. I wrote up San Jose too in my Power Plays article. I think we're kind of on the same page here, Josh. What do you think?
Yeah, if I had to get anything from Seattle, it would be McCann, Eberle, Schwartz. I'm not getting to them in 1 to 3 in MME doesn't take much to get over the field. We've been talking about how, all season, how, Seattle, at least on paper, should be a good defensive team. Like, these lines are just not great.
Ian Cole, Jordan Stahl, Andrei Svechnikov, Steven Lorentz enter protocol. So, yeah, thankful they canceled that Carolina-Minnesota game. There's just no one left.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. Hopefully they're all going to be all right. But Seattle 1 would be the line to get in MME. The way these lines are constituted, they're just not very good defensively. Grubauer has had his, documented problems stopping the puck, which is his one job. So for me, I really like Hertel Meyer here. I hope Meyer is a little bit lower on because he's 7,200, but it's not looking like that's going to happen. But I don't mind leaving Barabanov off. You want to put him with Erik Karlsson. for a 3-man power play stack, I think that's fine. You want to go to that top line, Dahlin, Couture, Gregor, fine as well. But for me, San Jose 2 in this game, they're going to get, Wenberg, Johansson, Appleton, and that line just has not been good.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do love that Hurdle-Meyer duo here. 77 shot attempts and 45 scoring chances per 60 minutes this year. They're just absolutely torching. So yeah, San Jose 2, Hurdle and Meyer, all about that here in this game. All right, we got to wrap it up. That was a monster show. We got through all 13 games, even though we're down to 12 now. I'm going to ask you for your hat trick picks and your goalies. My hat trick pick, a little bit, it's not off the board, but it kind of is because it's a 4 total, but he's not the main focus. I'm going to say Carter Verhaeghe for my hat trick pick here tonight. My goalies, Elvis Merzlikins, Robin Leonard, Carter Hart, Andre Vasilevsky. Who you got?
Yeah, I like those goalies as well. I think you can throw in Mackenzie Blackwood in there as well. Spencer Knight is an obvious play. It feels a little bit trappy at that price.
Let's say the 7,200 Florida goalies are very obvious. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm going to go with Timo Meier. Got to do it.
Got to do it. Love Timo here tonight as well. Timo Meier, Carter Verhaeghe are your 2 hat trick picks. We got to get out of here. Good luck tonight, everybody, on that massive slate. Pay attention to the news, and please stick around in Discord if you're a subscriber. No House Advantage NBA show coming up next. We'll be back, I believe, on Thursday. So for Mike, for Josh, good luck tonight, everybody.
Zoltan.